Are you curious about bodies, pleasure, and possibilities? And what about curious about what others are up to on the planet when it comes to pleasure, sex, and play? Have you considered what pleasure can do for your life, your body, and your bank account? Do you know something magical, delightful, and out of this world orgasmic is not only possible for you, but totally available to you? If you're ready to be the magical, sexual, sexy beast you know you can be, and you just need the tools to get there, you're in the right place. Now, here's the host of The Pleasure Zone, sensual movement artist, relationship and sex alchemist, Milica Jelenic.
Hello, beautifuls, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. Welcome to today's episode of The Pleasure Zone. And this week I was having so much fun in the sun. We put out a little above ground swimming pool and had so much joy being in the pool. And I was like, yeah, what is it about sun and water and sand? Like, why do people travel to go be on beaches? And like, what is this for us? Like, why do we love it so much? I mean, there's everything can give you pleasure. It's just a matter of your body responding, just like everything could turn you off. You could have a phobia to anything, which is the fear of anything, and you could have a philia to anything, which essentially means you have an attraction to it. Now, paraphilias land in the DSMV as something that's more considered a sexual classification, a classification for sexual different sexual behaviors. So different behaviors that are not considered vanilla normal. Anything to do with penetration. It's everything that could be beyond that, including use of different things like sand, water, and sun to turn you on. So paraphilias are wide-ranging. Literally everything on the planet can create a paraphilia with people. There are people who are attracted to objects, sexually attracted, create relationships with them. There was a documentary about a woman who married the Eiffel Tower. I think the people who look after the Eiffel Tower asked her, let her know that that relationship was not going to be able to be consummated. I believe she tried to consummate the relationship, and or that she had to withdraw her relationship from it. So that was a few years ago. I remember watching that, and in the same episode about objectophilia, there's a person who was in love with trains and different parts of working mechanical things from what are they, like the local fairs, the rides at local fairs. Like, it's wide ranging, guys. You could fall in love with literally anything, and your body can be aroused by literally everything in the same way that it could be completely turned off by this. I actually added sand in this specifically because my daughter cannot stand the feeling of sand on her skin. It irks her. And I know that that's not true for other people. You listen to people talking about or writing in their, their descriptions for dating. I love walking on the beach barefoot in sand. Well, there are a lot of people who just don't. There are a lot of people who actually don't love being in water either, and they don't love being in sun. But today, we're not talking about phobias, guys. We're talking about philias. And why am I talking about this? Part of what I love sharing on this planet is how to have more pleasure. And what I love to do is invite people in their lives, in their relationships, to include pleasure practices in their life, and also to look at different ways to enhance pleasure so that their bodies can have more ease. What I do actually with my business is I work with people on a daily basis for health, mainly using different types of instruments that allow me to do analysis of bodies, as well as send frequencies to bodies, and the bodies pick up information, and that information translates to changes in bodies. So that's one thing that I do. But one of the other things that I do and love is that I am a sex and intimacy coach, and I love talking to people about how to bring more sex and intimacy in their lives. Sex as the act, but also the wide range of what sex can mean to us. And some of these things, just looking at like what is arousal and how do we get aroused, can definitely add to that. And when you write a topic or maybe you don't know this, but I know for me, when I put out a topic to the world, so many things seem to coincide and collaborate to give me information regarding these topics. And I don't go on Instagram often. I usually go on to check my IMs, and then I'm out of there. But this week, I just decided to squirrel around, check things out, like some posts, look at some dancing babies, and because I love the dancing babies on, on Instagram. Babies of Instagram, fascinating babies, man, they're fun. And I follow this guy called Raw of the Earth. I think that's what it is. And this week alone, he has had several different episodes on what he does with the sun. And I was like, look at that. Thank you for the invitation to have more ideas of what to do with the sun. Now, first of all, what does it mean to be turned on by the sun? Is there a name for it? There's actually several names for it. If we're going right to like direct Greek names for it, as aphilia is a Greek word, then heliophilia, helio meaning sun in Greek, and philia meaning the fondness of something. The heliophilia would be one way to describe it, because you know what? It's not that easy to find the names of these things. There is actually no studies done on the attraction of the sun. And anything I tried to find does not exist. So if you happen to know of an article that is solely dedicated and that somebody has done research on attraction of the sun as aphilia, I would love to see it. It's not something that I could find. Maybe it's archived somewhere in different scholarly papers, but I don't have access to that. So heliophilia for one name, and also another name for it is actorasti. So actorasti is also being sexually turned on by the sun. And the one person who has a reference to it in their information also says there are no studies done to it about it. So fascinating, right? So now I'm like, well, what can I share when there is no research out there, when there's been no definitions and there's no history and then I'm like, wait a second, it's the sun, guys, it's the sun. Without the sun, we would not exist. Right there, that's kind of a turn on to life. The sun actually turns on our life. Now, whether you can acknowledge that the sun turns on life or not, there is a reality that without the sun, this planet, the Earth, would not have life on it. Neither would it have life without water. So we're talking about definitely two life-giving sources, and sand being a silicate. It also has other minerals in it as well. We're talking about basic life on this planet. And the beautiful, beautiful saying about the sun and the information I got today, which I just loved, from Raw of the Earth. Now, Ra is a pretty interesting dude if you follow him on Instagram. He talks about interesting stuff. Sometimes I just pass right by and sometimes I stick around. Today's was awesome. Today, Ra of the Earth had 3 stunningly gorgeous men lying on the ground, naked, feet in the air, sprawled. You cannot see you just see their legs. You do not see the details of their anuses or their testicles or their goods. You don't see that, but you see their legs sprawled in the air and the beautiful beautifulness of the sun hitting their bodies. And Ra comes on and says, 15 minutes of putting your I'm probably misquote him, but basically suntanning your anus. 15 minutes of suntanning your anus is highly energizing. And I was like, sweet mercy, he's onto something. Now that energizing, that's one way to put it. And as soon as I saw that, my body got so freaking happy. I like laughed a little, I got turned on a little, and I was like, damn. And my first thought was, hell, that makes sense, because if you think about it, and I actually commented on his post because I wanted to know where this thought came from about this, but I actually said, is this because when you look at the animal kingdom, every single animal presents their anus to the sun, presents their anal sphincter to the sun. Think about cows, horses, cats, dogs. baboons, all of them at some point bring it to the sun. I can't think of one that doesn't. And it's just natural for them. Their anuses are getting exposed to the sun. They lift their tail, the sun comes out, and they get exposed to that. So, so the question is how? I like that. Well, how do they do it? It's not like they're sitting there going 15 minutes in the sun. No. Next time you drive by a field and you look at animals, there are some that will have their tails up and some that will not. Now, just look at that, because essentially while they're standing there, they will get exposure to the sun when their tails are up. Cats, I mean, they do it for different reasons. It's pheromones coming out of their bodies and different things for attraction and whatever. But in effect, whether it's intentional or unintentional, their bodies and their anuses are getting exposure to the sun, which made me think, what are we as humans missing? We're mammals and we're not doing this. Like, why aren't we doing? Maybe that's something we require. Well, of all days, today was actually a rainy day in my neighborhood, which hasn't happened very frequently or very intensely for weeks. So today of all days, after seeing the anal sun gazing, I was like, wow, that is something I ought to try. So, of course, I see this and I say to my daughter, I'm like, holy cow. And she's like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I didn't say you have to. I'm just saying, think about this. What a great idea. Then, of course, I tell my mother, and I have yet to tell my husband, who will probably give me the look of, oh my, here goes my wife again. But think about it and ask your body, would it like some anal suntanning? Because there's something, I don't know what it was, made my body freaking happy. We don't know why. We don't know why about a lot of stuff. Does it matter why? If your body is happy and you're not hurting people and it's all consensual, does it matter why? If your body's happy, choose it and enjoy it and be in it, revel in it. And as I was watching these guys and their stunning ass bodies and their legs lifted in the air, I was like, that is freaking delicious. And I also thought about how, what a great exercise it is. Their legs are in the air. That's some good abs exercises, and they're stretching their legs. It's very, very fascinating. So the other one that Ra had, which was also interesting, and I have heard about sun gazing, was about sun gazing, but not staring at the sun. It's actually asking your body. I'm paraphrasing him from what I understood, is about asking your body to receive sun through your eyes. And so you just lightly look and you allow the sun to enter your body rather than trying to penetrate the sun. You let the sun come to you and you receive the sun. So those are fun. And those also are ways to invigorate and turn on your body. Now, there are actually different religions in the world that worship the sun. So the sun has been and is, if you look at recorded histories, the sun plays a huge part in all different recorded histories. There are gods, sun gods, in pretty much all mythological backgrounds. I'd have to confirm that with my daughter, who is super up on the up and up of mythology these days. But I'm pretty sure every single we'll call it an old religion that involved gods and goddesses, all had sun gods or sun goddesses. So isn't that beautiful? And now, what way to worship it other than lift those legs and receive through your anus from the sun? Now, I got to tell you though, I've been on nude beaches before, and one of the most I found most arousing things was to be I was on beaches in Greece, and they're all wear clothes if you want to or not. And I found it highly arousing to be on beaches where you can be freely suntanning, nude suntanning, and then your breasts and nipples are exposed to the sun. I have to say that was very arousing. So my body, what I know is that my body gets really aroused by the sun. I feel motivated, turned on. I like to have sex in the sun. I like to have sex when the sun comes out. I like to have sex when the sun goes down. I like, oh, well, I have masturbated outside in the sun, which was really nice too. There are, like, I think it's just delightful. The sun just adds a little something. So if you're like me and you like love to enjoy the sun and having your body kissed by the sun and almost having, it's like having your body witnessed by the sun. So it's a little voyeuristic because like the sun is so bright. You can't hide in the sun. It sees you, you receive it. It's kind of sexy. I don't know. That turns me on just thinking about it. And I'm going to just think about the sun a little bit more and be like, I'm stimulated because I had to go to break, but I'm going to like stimulate in my mind thinking about the sun. And you know what? You can do the same. So if you are turned on by the sun for the next few minutes while we are going into commercial, just meditate on that and see how your body feels. You're listening to the Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. Before we go any further, I want to remind you that Inspired Choices Network has an app, and you can download it on your Apple or on your Android phone. It's free. You can just have me wherever you go. And you can just, like, with a touch of a fingertip, like magic, I'm there. So if you enjoy, or like not just enjoy, like you get turned on by listening to my shows and you'd like more of them, and you're like, hey, are there any more other great shows on Inspired Choices Network? Because hell yeah, there are. And there are like over 5,000 shows in podcast that you can carry around with you. Download that app. So yeah, get that. It's free. It's great. The sound quality is amazing. I have it. I love listening to it. I'll put it on in the background, and then the shows are just playing while I do my other work. Super fun. So remember to get that, because why not? You're going to be like doing stuff this summer and driving around or going places or going to the beaches and getting your anus all suntanned. Go, if you live in the GTA, that's Toronto area of Canada, there is a nudist beach on Hanlan's Point on Center Island. I can tell you that much. There are nude beaches all over the world. Like if you live in Florida, in Miami, there are nude beaches. If you live, heck, just look around. You'd be surprised how many places you'll find nude beaches and you can do sun exposure. Or if you happen to live like I do in the middle of the countryside with like neighbors that are 2 kilometers away, go in your backyard. Go play. Let that anus shine and let it receive the sunshine and see what happens. My body's very happy about that idea, even though it sounds absolutely ludicrous and weird. I'm so going to try it because it looked, as much as it looked like a joke, it also looked really highly delightful. So there you go. So what other things can you do with the sun? Well, you can definitely meditate with thoughts of the sun. You can use images of the sun. You can feel the heat of the sun. You can feel the contrast of cool with the sun too. Sometimes that contrasting feelings, like having an ice cube while sitting in the sun and then feeling the contrast of the hot and cold, can be very arousing as well. So using all the senses with your sun, like what does the sun smell like to you and taste like and feel like? And I know that sounds weird. Like, how do you touch and taste and smell the sun? This is more of an etheric kind of an experience. So I ask you to just tap in and let your body give you that information, because it isn't something that's extremely tangible other than feeling heat from the sun or getting a suntan. There's not really evidence of like, how does your body experience the sun? It takes in a lot of vitamin D through sun exposure as well. The sun is highly energizing if you allow it to be. So lots of different ways: sun gazing, sun through the anus. Heck, ladies, sun in the vag, sun right on the vulva. Let it go into the great vagina, which is no longer my favorite term for it, but it is still the medical term. But there are so many other great and older words for our vaginas and vulvas. So there you go. So now what I'm going to talk about, well, we still got some water and some sand to talk about. And my next fun one, we're going to jump into sand because, again, not a lot of information out there about sand. In fact, I could not find a word for it, so I invented one. I took the Greek word for sand, which is amos, and I threw in the word philia, amosphilia. That's what I invented, because there is the fear of sand, amosphobia. And an amosphobia is like the fear of walking on sand or having feet, being very afraid of being in the sand. So anything that has a phobia can definitely have a philia. So I've renamed it amosphilia. And if you love the sand and you love seeing pictures, I was thinking about this, like there are pictures out there in the world where you'll see, like Sports Illustrated used to have women in bikinis sitting at the edge of the water, covered in sand and water. And there was something very sexy about that. And there is a term for the kind of arousal that occurs when you see somebody that you find sexually attractive looking dirty. That's actually called, I got to check this word because I haven't used it. Salirophilia, which means that you get like turned on by somebody looking like they've been soiled, wearing dirty clothes, being muddied up. So if you're turned on by seeing somebody getting all dirty in sand, then you might have this salirophilia. It doesn't have to be just sand. It could be mud. It could just be anything that makes the person who you find highly attractive, when they get soiled, it turns you on. However, we're also talking about the personal experience for the person. So some people, if you do get highly aroused by being in sand, like lying in it and feeling it on your body, or even when you have, say, for example, the feeling of sandpaper, there is a lot of different kink play that involves sandpaper on the nipples and different areas of the body, rubbing sandpaper on the vulva, rubbing sandpaper on a penis. So there is a lot of variety of play that comes in with sandpaper, though I do know that that's also true. That can be an arousal through sand as well. So you could, if you are aroused by sand and you don't have like a location that you can go to that's open for you to be able to have this arousal of sand, you can always go to like your local home improvement store, buy sand that's actually for like a kid's sand pit, and you can make a space in your own place for you to have sand. Or you can get, you can go to a local beach and get some containers of sand so you have it in your home. for some people, it's when the sand is warmed by the sun or when the sand is wet by the water. And for some people, it's just the sand itself is just delightful and their bodies love it. So there are actually therapies in the world and places you can go to be in therapeutic sands. I know in Serbia, I know that exists because my dad used to go to the healing meds, but there a lot of them are sands. So you sit in the hot sand, and it's for rheumatism and different things for healing the body for sure. So when you look at it as a healing agent, as an arousal agent, there's so much potential in this whole silicate. Silica is like, it's like got this crazy arousal for us. And so one of the things I would encourage you to try, because if you've never tried it, is get a little bit of sand and rub it on your body and see how it feels. Maybe get like a handful of sand and rub it. You know, you could start somewhere where you can reach. You could start it on your face. And if you think about it, there are so many solutions out there for skin peeling, for skin cleansing that involve the gritty feeling of sand. And people love it. And I don't even think they know how much their bodies are aroused by it. So you can use those as well. Some things that have like that grit feeling that mimics sand, and you can use sand itself to just rub on your body and see how that feels. You can get bits of it, you can make it wet, you can rub it on, and just check. It's just for fun. This is play. This is self-play, exposing your body to sand to see how you react. Now, why would I encourage you to do this? Well, for one thing, I encourage you to try everything and anything that will not harm you, and anything and everything that may arouse you. And how do you know unless you've tried? So if it's not going to hurt you and it's not going to get you ill, then why not try it, right? So I also know that for me, there are places in my body that like sand and places that just don't. I do not like sand in my bathing suit, like I don't like it in my butt crack, and I don't like sand in my labial creases. I don't like sand there, but where I do like sand, I like sand on the nipples. So if I were lying on a beach, say for example, and lying in the sand topless, that would be very happy for my body. I would thoroughly enjoy that. The stimulation of sand can be highly arousing because there can be like a twinge of pain that also is on the same, it's like that, is it pain, is it pleasure? It can be both of those at the same time. And rubbing it on your body it's exfoliating as well as pleasuring. So I think you're going to find that as you play with it, it may be even more arousing than you ever thought. So feel it. See first, do you like the feeling of sand on your hands? Do you like it on your feet? Where else on your body would you like it? And just explore. This is all about exploration. So much so, like when I was talking about the sun and like anal exposure to the sun, I honestly had not even considered that or thought about that until I saw Raw of the Earth talking about that today. And then I was like, well, that's a fascinating and great idea. And I'd also seen one of my little nieces, just like, she's always naked, and she just like exposes her vulva to the sun, and she just like sits there, and she's like, she was like 2 when she did this, and she's like, oh, it feels so good. And I was like, I think you're onto something, kid. Like she was in there, she was doing like invigorating her body. It's these parts of our bodies that don't usually get attention or sun exposure. So if you are exposing your body in places that normally don't get sun, like even your armpits don't usually get sun, and that might be arousing too. If you tend to wear full bathing suits, then maybe wearing something that exposes more of your skin can be arousing in those areas that are normally covered. It's fun, right? And sand can do the same. So bodies, aren't they fascinating? Anything can literally turn them on. And when I talk about philias, I'm talking about letting your body get so erotically charged and like so turned on that you feel orgasmic to the point where you're like, hey, if I wasn't public right now, I'd probably masturbate just thinking about this. So Are you willing to be so turned on by the sun? Are you willing to be so turned on by the sand that you are in that elevation of energy that we'll call orgasmic energy, so that your body can feel super aroused, super happy, super invigorated? And then, if it is private enough where you're not going to get arrested for being an exhibitionist or whatever, I'm just saying this for the sake of not getting arrested. But if you're in public and everybody else is fine with it, then, and you're not going to get arrested, then okay, cool. So if you're willing to, even go to the level of climax with the exposure to sun, and be willing to go to the level of climax with exposure to sand, that's amazing. I did put the question out there on social media to ask people if they are aroused by the sun, sand, and water. And I had a few people say they were, and some people who wrote me privately. And they said, yes, I am. And I'm like, can you tell me more? Is it about the smell, the feeling, and they don't really have a lot of information about the why, or like, what is it? It's just that it is. So my question dives into the what is it about this that is so arousing? And to me, that it's like sun is life-giving energy, just like orgasmic energy is life-giving energy. Kind of like, are they one and the same? I don't really know. Is the sun like a giant freaking orgasmic ball of life energy? Maybe. I mean, we could scientifically call it different gases, but energetically, is it just like a giant orgasm in the sky? I don't know. I'm just exploring thoughts here. This is what I'm doing, exploration of my thoughts. So as I explore my thoughts, I invite you to explore some of your thoughts too, like about what arouses you and how you'd like to play with that during this commercial. So you're listening to The Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for The Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Interested in masturbating for money, copulating for consciousness, and pleasuring on purpose? 21 Days of Sexual Magicism with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic is an exploration of tools, processes, and actions that you can use to create more for your life, your body, your money inflows, and so much more. Graduated learning for all levels of interest. Learn at your own pace via video classes or join the yearly live class. Take a peek at www.milicajelenic.com.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@milicajelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, my sweet, sweet pleasure seekers. So, Were you thinking about what turns you on during the last commercial? I hope you were, because we got a little something going on in the chat right now, and that little something is letting us know that that there's, well, in the chat there's a little conversation, and one of the people in the chat was saying that they're highly turned on by sand moving through objects like sand glasses and hourglasses, or even having it squish through fingers and toes. I think that's beautiful. It's I know I love that feeling too. And I love the I love like I love visuals too. So the whole idea of watching sand, or even like sand pouring out of a dump truck, or I don't know, it's great. There can be so much fun with it. And there's something so beautiful. Like, I love glass blowing, and basically glass is sand. And there's something amazing about it, in so many things that can be done with it. It's just like so fun. And to this day, if I go to a beach, I still make sand castles and like sand sculptures and all of that. I it's fun. And I think it's funny when grown-ups get all like weird about, well, they're like grown-ups now, so they're not going to make sandcastles. I could make sandcastles for hours, and I've made some stellar, gigantic fortresses and giant tunnels. And yeah, it's fun. I love being in it. I could be in it all the time. I just don't like it at my butt crack and in my labial creases. It's just like everything else is pretty good though. Not in my eyes or in my mouth. That's true too. So you got to think about this when you do talk about philias with somebody and you say that you're turned on by something. It's to be really clear to, within that specific category, what areas of your body you would like that that done to it, right? So, you know, for example, if you like sun exposure, where would you like the sun exposure? Would you like to do it to yourself, or would you like a partner involved that's actually, you know, you can add play to this, right? So all of these things can be arousing on their own. And then there's things you can add in, like what if you're in the sun and you get to be tied to something, because maybe that's arousing too, to just be having a little bondage play while you're in the sun. There can be so many things that add to it. So this is just fundamentally talking about these three things: the sun, the sand, and the water, how they themselves can be tools of arousal, and not only just arousal, but they can like lead to climax, right? So they can bring the energy up to become orgasmic, and they can take you all the way. So one of the last ones on our list is the aquaphilia, the arousal by water. And I know so many people who don't even realize that they are aquaphiliacs. They love the feeling of water in their body, like drinking it. They love bathing in it. They'll have like 3 baths a day. I dated a guy once who, in like a 3-hour date, he showered and showered and showered. And it wasn't until I put this show up. At first I was like, oh my God, is he is he a germaphobe, or like, what was that? But when I put this show up, I was like, no, what it was is he's actually like super aroused by water. Now I don't have his contact anymore to like call up and go, hey, what sort of by the way, were you super aroused by water? My sense is that there was a certain like arousal of by water going on. Also, you know, there are lots of times people are like, let's do it in the hot tub. And like, there's all kinds of arousal by different water sources, lakes, rivers, water, doing it in the water, seeing people do it in the water, pictures of water, waterfalls, having sex in waterfalls. Oh, there's so much, having sex in the rain. There's so many ways we can be exposed to water: sex in the shower, sex in the bathtub, sex in a hot tub, swimming pools, lakes, rivers, oceans, waterfalls, you name it. Like, think about all the different water sources and all the ways to have fun in these water sources. Definitely sex in the ocean is fun. I agree. I had sex in the Caribbean years ago. It was great. And I think the person making the comment in the chat also had sex in the Caribbean. So there you go. Wet between the toes is arousing, absolutely. And the hot tub fantasy is a fantasy, but it's not easy. No, the hot tub is not an easy fantasy, especially if you're in like a public hot tub, not an easy one to pull off. If you're in a private hot tub, not always easy to pull off. I have to say, the first time I ever saw somebody being aroused in a hot tub, I found it a little confusing because I was about 9 or 10, and my mom had taken me to this health place, like the workout place, fitness place, right? Like a gym. And it was in a hotel, and it was like, it was in Toronto. It was kind of like classy at the time. It was supposed to be kind of like this classy joint we were going to. And we were going to go in the hot tub. And we opened the door to the hot tub room, and a woman was masturbating with the jets. And I just stopped and stared in fascination because I'd been masturbating since I was 4. But had I never seen anybody else do it and did not know this existed in any other human being, I thought I was alone in the world. Then I saw that. And I was like, well, both I felt, hallelujah, I'm not alone. And secondly, I thought, how do I get in there? And thirdly, I was like, what do I do? My mom's standing there. I'm 9. Like, I didn't think about being 9, but I was like, my mom's here. This is awkward. This is so, like, you're 9 and you're like, oh my God, I'm standing here. And there's like a woman is like being sexually aroused in front of me. She was mid-orgasm when we opened the door and didn't seem to care. Yep. And that's the first time I saw a woman have an orgasm in my life. I was 9. And I like to think I had a part in it because maybe she wanted to do this publicly, because she did, and maybe she wanted to be witness, and maybe I got to contribute to that. Who knows? I don't know. Kind of weird, kind of interesting. But yes, the jets can be amazing. They can be super powerful. And I also think when I see jets now, I'm like, they're incredibly cleansing. Like, they could actually be kind of like an enema. So if you like if you wanted anal stimulation, that's one way to get the enema, but who wants that in the water, right? So, you know me and hygiene. If you're going to stimulate yourself in a public space, try and do it when nobody's around. After hours, maybe sneak in. I don't know, because I'm more about promoting that you trespass than that you actually do this when you could get caught. No, I'm kidding. So, do it in an area where you're not going to get in trouble. Maybe children will not walk in the room and watch you. That's good. And there's a thought. And your other option could be that you have a hot tub at home and you do it yourself. But still, if you have a hot tub at home, keep your goods clean before you go sticking them on the jets. It's just a smart thing to do. You don't need to spread bacteria to yourself. If you even have like a little bit of something going on, yeah, you don't need to spread it to yourself. Okay, there's another great comment in the chat room about bidets. Yes, bidets can be strangely arousing. I have a cousin in Serbia who has a bidet in her house. It confused the crap out of me at first because the water isn't the cleanest in her town. So I wasn't sure if it was a urinal, or I never used it because I couldn't tell if it was a urinal or a bidet. But afterwards, I found out it was a bidet. So I never used it though when I was there. So any kind of great way to get, stimulation by water too, like using shower heads, is super fun. And I think my own first personal arousal by water was through the faucet in the tub. Why? Because Sue Johansson on Sex with Sue talked about that one night when I was about 12. So when I was about 17, kept that in my noggin and tested it out, and it was highly effective and I loved it. So yes, arousal by water stimulating you, for sure, that is one way. And it is the feeling of the water is one thing. It's also the fact that it's like a different experience than masturbating with your hands or with toys. Masturbating with water is highly different and very arousing. So fun. And I think about like all the different ways I've tried to get myself into sexual situations in water, and there are a lot of them, I have to say, There are, yeah, between oceans, rivers, waterfalls. I could just like go on and on because I love water. Um, yes, there's actually a waterfall that's near me that, yes, I did that. Yes. And it's small. I don't even know if I can get in it anymore because it's in an abandoned mine. However, I would love to be in like a giant waterfall somewhere, just like so great. You see these things on movies and they just look beautiful. They're just like, oh, my body is so happy right now. I can't even tell you. It's crazy. so, so a friend of mine in the chat is just like having so much fun, going, well, I want to do it in a creek, in the woods, and the sun beating on you. Hell yeah. So we've gone on a few road trips together. This might be the most entertaining and fun road trip we've ever had. We are going to go seek out some creeks and some water sources. I think we totally will. It's so funny. It's so funny, but so great. Like, who doesn't want to go seek out water sources that you can get aroused by? I love it. I love it. You know what we're going to do? We're going to like start a travel agency where we take you to certain locations where you can get aroused by sun, water, and sand and not get arrested for it. Oh, you know we're starting that. I just feel excited about starting. Oh, we because we're so good at finding places that are fun and weird. So I think we could totally set this up, creating a business, totally off the cuff, the Pleasure Road Trippers. Hell yeah. Finding the craziest ways and places to get aroused. Oh my God, that's so exciting and fun. Um, and it's making me laugh because it's such a fun idea. How many of you listening right now would, and message me, I'd love to hear, how many of you would love to go on a pleasure adventure? Pleasure adventure with me and my friend. We just take off. We might rent a truck or a truck. What am I talking about? A bus. We rent a bus or we meet in a location and we take you guys on a pleasure adventure to be aroused by things like water, sand, sun, you name it. Definitely water. I think water is a winner and we need to start with that one. So, message me. I'm interested to know who's in and who wants to play. All right, I'm so past my commercials. I'm going to jump into that right now. You're listening to the Pleasure Zone here on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Are you secretly a voyeur, wondering what's going on in other people's sex lives? What if now is the time for a totally different sexual evolution? Are you interested in people who are pioneers of different sexual and pleasurable practices? Lean in now with Milica Jelenic, where she will entice you and your body to know your own pleasure zone. On the Pleasure Zone radio show with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic, you'll receive tools, inspiration, and a foundation to allow yourself to receive more in your sex life, and quite possibly other areas of your life as well. Listen for the Pleasure Zone with Milica every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. To participate in the program today, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email, info@MilicaJelenic.com. Now, back to the program.
So during the commercial, my mind's like going wild and I'm thinking about the pleasure road trip and like where are we gonna go and what's our first water source and water around the world and like a million ideas, and it's like so fun. True pleasure seekers, pleasure adventure seekers. Oh yeah, that's like where it's at. Who is not going to be up for a pleasure adventure seeking tour when all this pandemic crap is done? I think everybody's going to be up for a little something fun and need a little escape and need a little pleasure and need a little like something different. All right, cool. We'll all be there, right? All of us. We're going to be ready. We're going to be rocking. We're going to be turned on, and we're going to get a tricked out bus or a Winnebago, as my friend says. We're going to be rocking it because we're going to need some resources while we travel, maybe some food and relaxation time and giggles and all that jazz. So it's going to be sweet. That's what I know. And I love that. I love the idea of many people working together on their pleasure. And one of one of my greatest fantasies is having like pleasure classes and like just having everybody masturbating it out together. Like I just like that's one of my favorites. It's one of my go-tos actually. So if you want to be part of my go-to fantasy, let me know. I'm so in. I think that's exciting and it's fun. And I know that the people who say yes to this are both brave and intelligent and sweet human beings. So thank you so much for saying yes to this idea. As if you were watching the video, you're probably watching my face just light up with total freaking joy because it's so exciting. Total freaking joy because I love any ways that we can have, like, I love that just be like so turned on, doesn't matter. So fun. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, what else? Oh, sun and sand and combinations of such. And then I was thinking about like, okay, like if you can't get anywhere right now, how do you like explore these things, right? So I mentioned like you could go outside, you could get the sun exposure, even if you have a patio or whatever. And you don't want to get caught on the patio, you know, put up one of those folding walls so people can't see over it. If you want to get the exposure to the sand, you can always go to the beach, a local beach, and just grab some sand. Go from there, have some in your home environment that you can play with. If you can't get out to get the water, well, I hope you have water resources in your home. And I feel really sad if you don't. And I know there are people in the world who strangely have access to cell phones, but do not have access to clean water. And for you guys, I hope to God that you will have access to clean water in your lives soon. So if you can get water, a water source that you can enjoy, I just think about too, like the different ways of play with water where you could put water in your mouth and squirt it on people, or just having water dripped on you, cold water, hot water. It's a great way for play. Ice cubes are water and they're fun too. And you know, I can't think of a way that I don't like water. I think, you know, if you think about all these places in the world where people go for like wash and blow dry, or now in Ontario, we still can't do that. So I got to wash and blow dry my own hair today. So where you can go and you get your hair all like washed up. I think it's more than just the wash, guys. I think there's the water exposure, the massage that happens. So massaging in water can be highly erotic. There's even water body work, and I got a pool now. It's like 50, it's not big, but I can work on bodies in my pool, which when we were putting it up, it was one of the most exciting things about putting up that pool for me was the thought of being able to work on bodies in water. First, I love water. First, I love working on bodies. Those are both firsts. And throw them together. Damn. I know there is body work that's called watsu that is like shiatsu done in water. And the body work I learned can actually be done anywhere, including water. So I'm like excited to play with that. I'm excited to have people come and be in the water and like have different movement through that. There's always, for me, water can be so enhancing. And it's the one time I feel motivated to do anything that's like a workout is when I'm in water. I'll do squats in water. I'll lift weights in water. Get me on land. Get me in water. Oh yeah. I am a water sign, mind you. My sun is in Pisces, but a lot of the rest of me is in fire. So I got a lot. I do have some more water stuff, but when it really comes down to it, I love water exposure when it's by my choice. I don't like people squirting water on me without my permission. I get actually almost violent. So think about the ways that you like it and think about the ways that you don't, because all of these things can have dualities to them. So it's something to explore before fully diving in with a partner. Try it for yourself. These are all things that I was just talking about today. Try it for yourself. And remember to stay tuned in and turned on till next week, because who knows what I'm going to talk about then. I actually don't know yet.
Thank you for listening to The Pleasure Zone with sensual movement artist Milica Jelenic. The Pleasure Zone returns next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by choosing to be turned on and tuned in to your body.